A marriage that isn't a marriage, a proposal that sounds like freedom but hides a dangerous price, and a silence so heavy it could destroy a woman's entire future in a single breath. This is the moment everything shifts between Mary, Lizzie, and Mr. Ryder. Mary never expected her life to be discussed like a contract, as if love could be separated from reputation and reduced into something modern and acceptable. Yet here she is, standing in a room where every word spoken about Mr. Ryder's proposal feels heavier than the last. Lizzie's face says everything before she even speaks: shock, disbelief, and something closer to anger. Because what Mr. Ryder has suggested is not simple romance. It is not a normal promise of marriage. It is an arrangement that exists outside everything their world has taught them to respect or even tolerate. Lizzie cannot understand how Mary is even listening without immediately rejecting it. To her, the idea is not just unusual, it is dangerous. A life without marriage, without protection, without society's approval, what kind of future could that possibly offer? She repeats what she heard, almost unable to believe the words herself. Italy, freedom, no marriage, and then the truth underneath it all: he is asking Mary to become his mistress, even if he hides it behind softer language. The moment that truth settles in, the air between them changes completely. Mary feels it too, but not in the same way. Where Lizzie sees only danger, Mary sees possibility. Not because she is naive, but because she has always lived at the edge of attention, never fully inside it. She has always been the one overlooked, the one expected to accept less. And now, for the first time, someone is offering her something that feels like being chosen. Mr. Ryder speaks to her like she matters. He listens, he laughs with her. He does not treat her like an invisible shadow in her own home. That feeling is powerful, almost intoxicating in a way she doesn't fully understand yet. But Lizzie refuses to let that feeling grow unchecked. She reminds Mary what this freedom truly costs. Reputation is not something that disappears quietly. Once it is gone, it does not return. A woman without protection is left exposed to judgment, whispers, and lifelong consequences that no one forgets. If Mr. Ryder ever decides to leave, he walks away untouched. But Mary would be the one left behind to face everything alone. Every warning Lizzie gives is sharp, not cruel, but desperate. She is not just speaking as a sister, she is speaking as someone terrified of what this world does to women who step outside its rules. Mary listens, but instead of retreating, she admits something she has never said out loud. She does not feel suited for the life expected of her. The rules, the silence, the constant measuring of worth against marriage prospects, it has always made her feel like she is standing slightly outside of everyone else's world. She has lived her entire life feeling like the odd one, the one who does not fit the shape she was given. And now, for the first time, she wonders if stepping outside those rules might finally let her breathe. Lizzie hears this and it breaks something in her certainty, because beneath all her arguments, she begins to hear something deeper in Mary's voice. Not rebellion, but exhaustion. A lifetime of being compared, overlooked, and quietly dismissed. Still, Lizzie cannot accept Mr. Ryder as the answer, even if he is kind, even if he is different, even if he makes Mary laugh. None of that changes the risk. Love in this form feels unstable, temporary, and Lizzie cannot ignore the fear that Mary is being drawn into something that will eventually leave her with nothing but regret. So she asks the question that changes everything, even though she already fears the answer forming in silence. Mary, standing between hope and warning, between desire and doubt, is forced to look deeper than she has before. Not at Mr. Ryder, not at Lizzie, but at herself. And in that moment, when the room falls quiet and the weight of everything unspoken presses down between them, Lizzie finally asks the question that no one has been brave enough to say out loud. Does Mary truly love Mr. Ryder, or is she only falling in love with the idea of finally being seen? And Mary's answer is not what anyone is prepared to hear. Mary does not answer immediately, and that silence becomes louder than any confession she could have given. Lizzie watches her carefully, searching her face for certainty, but all she finds is conflict, like Mary herself is standing at a crossroads she does not know how to walk away from. The question still hangs in the air. Is it love, or is it something more fragile, something born from years of being unseen? Mary finally speaks, but her voice is softer now, less sure than before. She does not deny her feelings for Mr. Ryder, but she cannot define them either. What she knows is simple and yet dangerous in its simplicity. She feels alive when she is with him, not judged, not measured, not constantly compared. With him, she feels like she exists in a way she has never experienced before. And that feeling, she admits, is hard to let go of once you have known it. Lizzie hears this and her concern deepens because she understands what Mary is not saying. Feeling seen is not the same as being valued in a lasting way. Attention is not the same as stability, and yet she also sees something else. Mary is not only defending Mr. Ryder, she is defending a version of herself that she never thought was possible. A version that is not defined by failure or invisibility, but by choice. Still, Lizzie pushes forward, trying to ground her sister in reality. She reminds Mary that Mr. Ryder's offer is not just unconventional, it is socially destructive. There is no safety net in what he is suggesting, no recognized future, no protection if things go wrong. The world they live in does not forgive women easily, especially not women who step outside signed accepted boundaries, and once that step is taken, it cannot be undone. Mary listens, but there is a quiet resistance in her expression now. It is not defiance for the sake of rebellion, it is something more personal. She begins to explain that she has never felt fully part of the world Lizzie describes. While Lizzie speaks of protection and structure, Mary thinks of restriction and invisibility. To her, marriage has never felt like safety. It has felt like expectation, a role she was supposed to want even when she could not see herself inside it. Lizzie is shaken by this honesty because she realizes, perhaps for the first time, that Mary's experience of their shared life has been entirely different from her own. Where Lizzie saw familiarity and family, Mary experienced distance. Where Lizzie felt guided, Mary felt overlooked. And that difference cannot be corrected by simple reassurance. But Lizzie refuses to give up. She insists that Mr. Ryder's modern ideas do not erase reality. He may speak of freedom, of rejecting ownership in marriage, but he is still protected by his position in ways Mary is not. If the arrangement fails, he loses little. Mary loses everything. Reputation, security, future, none of it can be recovered easily for a woman in her position. Mary hears this, and for the first time, doubt flickers in her eyes. Not because she stops believing in Mr. Ryder completely, but because she begins to see the shape of what Lizzie is warning her about. A freedom that exists only as long as it is convenient for the other person is not truly freedom at all. It is dependency disguised as choice. Yet even as doubt grows, so does something else. A fear of returning to the life she already knows, a life where she is defined by absence, by being less than in a house full of louder voices. Mr. Ryder, whatever else he may be, makes her feel present in her own story, and that feeling is not something she can easily dismiss. Lizzie notices the shift and her tone softens slightly, but her urgency remains. She tells Mary that wanting to escape is not the same as being safe in escape. That loneliness inside a structured life can still be survived, but uncertainty in an unprotected one can destroy a person completely. She is not only arguing against Mr. Ryder anymore, she is trying to hold on to her sister. Mary lowers her gaze, caught between two truths that refuse to align. One promises recognition, the other promises protection. One feels like life finally beginning, the other feels like life being preserved, and she cannot tell which fear is greater, the fear of choosing wrong or the fear of choosing nothing at all. And as Lizzie watches her sister struggle in silence, she realizes something unsettling. Mary is no longer simply listening to Mr. Ryder's proposal. She is beginning to imagine herself inside it. And once that thought takes root, will she still be able to walk away from him at all? Mary remains silent for a long moment, but this time it is different. It is not confusion anymore, it is calculation, as if she is trying to piece together two futures and figure out which one would hurt less. Lizzie notices this shift immediately, and it unsettles her more than any argument Mary could have made. Because silence like this does not come from doubt alone, it comes from imagination. Mary begins to speak again, but her voice carries a different weight now. She admits something she has never said so openly before. She is tired, not just of society, but of the constant feeling that her life is already decided before she even gets to live it. Every expectation placed on her has always felt like a path she was supposed to accept quietly. And yet, no matter how hard she tried to fit into it, she always felt slightly removed, as if she was watching her own life from a distance rather than truly living it. Lizzie listens, but she does not interrupt. For the first time, she realizes this is not just about Mr. Ryder. It is about everything Mary has been carrying for years without ever saying it aloud. And that realization makes the conversation heavier because it is no longer just a disagreement, it is a confession. Mary explains that when Mr. Ryder speaks to her, it feels different. Not because he promises perfection, but because he acknowledges her presence. He asks her questions. He listens to her answers. He does not treat her like she is background noise in her own life. And for someone who has spent most of her life feeling invisible, that attention feels like oxygen. Lizzie's expression tightens at this because she understands how dangerous that feeling can be. Being seen can feel like love, even when it is not. She tries to explain this gently but firmly. Attention can be mistaken for affection. Interest can be mistaken for commitment. And words about freedom can hide an arrangement that only benefits one person more than the other. But Mary is not rejecting Lizzie's words. She is weighing them. And that is what makes it more complicated. She is no longer simply defending Mr. Ryder. She is questioning the entire structure she has been told to trust. Marriage, security, reputation, all of it begins to feel less like protection and more like limitation when viewed through her eyes. Lizzie takes a breath and softens her tone. She tells Mary that she is not trying to dismiss her feelings. She understands loneliness, she understands wanting to be chosen, but she also understands consequences. And consequences, once they arrive, do not care about intentions. They only care about outcomes. Mary looks up at her then, and there is something fragile in her expression. She asks Lizzie something quietly, if she has ever felt like she did not belong, even in her own home. The question lands heavily because Lizzie does not have an immediate answer, and in that pause, something shifts again between them. Lizzie finally admits that life has not always been easy for her either, but it has never made her feel erased. And that is the difference she cannot ignore. Mary's experience of being overlooked has shaped how she sees even the smallest moments of attention. What might feel ordinary to someone else feels transformative to her. This is where the tension deepens, because Lizzie begins to understand that arguing facts is not enough. Mary is not only making a decision about Mr. Ryder, she is making a decision about how she wants to exist in the world, whether she accepts invisibility as her future or risks everything for the possibility of being seen. Mary then says something that shifts the entire conversation again. She admits she knows the arrangement is not safe in the traditional sense. She knows what people would say. She knows the shame, the judgment, the consequences. But she also says something that is harder to dismiss. She does not feel like she has ever truly been safe in the life she was given either. Only protected in appearance, not in feeling. Lizzie is shaken by this honesty because she realizes she cannot simply argue Mary out of her emotions. This is no longer a debate about Mr. Ryder's intentions. It is about Mary's hunger for a different kind of life. One where she is not just surviving expectations, but actively choosing her place in them. And as the room falls into another heavy silence, Lizzie realizes something she does not want to accept. Mary is not just considering Mr. Ryder's proposal anymore. She is beginning to believe it might be the only chance she has to finally exist as herself. But what if that belief is exactly what makes it so dangerous? Lizzie can feel the conversation slipping into territory she cannot easily pull it back from. Mary is no longer simply questioning Mr. Ryder's offer. She is beginning to justify it piece by piece, as if she is building a case for a decision already forming in her heart. And that is what frightens Lizzie the most. Not curiosity, not confusion, but conviction growing quietly inside. Uncertainty. Lizzie steps forward emotionally, her voice calmer now but more deliberate. She tells Mary that she understands feeling unseen more than Mary might realize. But she also warns her that being seen by the wrong person in the wrong way can be just as dangerous as being invisible. Mr. Ryder may speak with charm, with intelligence, with modern ideas about freedom, but none of that guarantees permanence. Words can feel safe while they are being spoken and still collapse when tested by reality. Mary listens, but there is something different in how she listens now. She is not absorbing everything as warning anymore. She is filtering it, comparing it to her own experiences, and that comparison is shaping her response in ways Lizzie can almost see happening in real time. Mary finally speaks again, and her voice carries more certainty than before. She says she is not blind to the risks. She understands what society would say about her. She understands what her family would feel. But she also says something that is harder to argue against. She has lived her entire life inside rules that promised protection, and yet she has never felt protected by them emotionally. Only constrained, Lizzie exhales slowly, struggling to respond without pushing Mary further away. She asks her gently whether Mr. Ryder has ever promised her stability or only possibility, because possibility is easy to offer, stability is not, and what Mary is calling freedom might simply be uncertainty dressed in romantic language. That question lands differently. For a brief moment, Mary does not answer, and in that pause, doubt flickers again, because beneath everything she feels when she is with Mr. Ryder, there is still a lack of clarity about what he truly intends long-term. He speaks of modern arrangements, of rejecting ownership, of redefining love, but none of it is anchored in something permanent she can hold on to. Lizzie notices this hesitation and gently continues. She tells Mary that love, if it is real, does not ask a person to gamble their entire future on interpretation. It does not require secrecy from society to survive. It does not rely on imbalance to function, and most importantly, it does not leave one person fully exposed while the other remains protected. Mary's expression tightens slightly at that because she knows Lizzie is not wrong in principle, but she also cannot ignore what Mr. Ryder makes her feel in moments that seem small but matter deeply to her. The way he speaks to her as if she is interesting, the way he does not correct her or diminish her thoughts, the way he seems to genuinely enjoy her presence, not out of obligation but out of choice. Lizzie sees that softness in Mary's face and changes her approach. She is no longer arguing against Mr. Ryder directly. Instead, she is trying to separate emotion from outcome. She asks Mary to imagine what happens after the excitement fades, after Italy, after novelty, after the feeling of being chosen wears off. What remains then if there is no structure, no recognition, no guarantee of commitment? Mary's answer is not immediate, and when it comes, it is quieter than before. She says she does not know, but she also admits something more vulnerable. She does not know what remains for her in the life she is already expected to live either. That uncertainty sits between them like a truth neither of them can fully deny. Lizzie falls silent for a moment because she realizes the conversation has reached its most dangerous point. Not because of Mr. Ryder's proposal itself, but because Mary is now comparing two unknown futures and struggling to